Today, I'm going to break down for you guys 9/11, the date, the number, the event, like no one has ever in your life before. Because 9/11, guys, not only is the most important event that we have witnessed in our history, but it is an event that predates all of us. And it goes back to, you know, BC, AD, as you could see, that all you need to do to understand 9/11 is understand Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, as you could see here, is an annual fast day in Judaism on which a number of disasters, to be specific, 5 calamities, okay? And that number 5 is important. I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, right? These are disasters of Solomon's temple. Both Solomon's temple, as you can see here in Jerusalem, destroyed 587 BC. Herod's temple in Jerusalem destroyed 70 AD on September the 11th. And here, when you know, the two T's destroyed 9/11 2001 AD. So, even before all these movies that have been telling us this for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and so on, this predates back to, before any of us could even stand to imagine. The number 5, of course, to occultists is synonymous with death and also Satan, because when you break down Satan, not only do you get 14 in numerology, but that goes and breaks down to 5, and of course, it's also 55 in English ordinal, and of course, what more proof do we need than the pentagram itself, right? 5 sides. So that's where the 5 calamities, I think, comes from as well, but there could be many sources to it. So this predates all of us, and it goes back a long time. So the symbolism that's in our face, that they have planned and planned and planned for this specific event, for a long time. And they have been just, when they say history repeats itself, it couldn't be any more true, guys. And even just to show you, Tisha B'Av is 9/11 in Latin, one of the oldest ciphers of gematria, and septenary, which is mostly and only really used for decoding biblical and religious, words. So Tisha B'Av, guys, I mean, that's to me what it really is. And also, let me move this, and your evidence also is on the Freemason square and compass. 90 degrees downward below, as above, so below here, 90 degrees down, and 47 degrees up here, which, of course, is 9/11, okay? Now, I made a graph to show you guys and to kind of explain, the significance of, certain important numbers that were used in this ritual, this continuous ritual that has happened throughout time. I'm going to show you the significance of these numbers, and it's ones that I've been mentioning up until the beginning of this stream, and I'll turn your attention first to this graph I made here to help you guys understand this event and what exactly was happening and how nothing is a coincidence. All of us understand the important numbers to the occult, right? Those are 3, 6, 9, 11, 13, multiples thereof, double numbers, 22, 33, etc., and triple numbers, 1, 11, 22, 222, 333. The only numbers that don't really factor into the occult practices are like 4, 2, the number 8, and 12. Even though 12 breaks down to 3, it's still not really used. So the 3, 6, 9, 11, 13, the ones I told you, are the ones that are mostly used. Also number 5 as well, too. And you are going to see these numbers come up, guys. And also the number 13 as well. So let's start, because I want to really make sure I get every point here spot on so you guys really understand this. And I'm going to even throw in and break down Kabbalah for you very easily to understand, because this is all about a representation of, as you can see here on the top left, the Twin Towers are a reflection of the dual pillar theme that is seen in esoteric traditions. Top left here you see Jachin and Boaz, the twin pillars, and the high priestess. Also, again, here, like, on the Freemason altar, the checkered floor, and also the Kabbalah tree of life, in which there are 10 sephiroths, basically the tree of life being the blueprint, in my interpretation, of the human everything, all the things, the essences that make up a human. Here you could see, I don't know if you could really read it, but I even have to squint my eyes. They are kingdom, foundation, victory, splendor, beauty, mercy, severity, wisdom, crown, and I think understanding. So there are 10 Sephiroths, like the video game character Sephiroth. Okay, so this is a reflection of that, and the pillars represent paths to ascension or to higher consciousness. So Tower 1, they're both 110 stories too. 1111, no coincidence, right, Shadow? I knew you were gonna say that. What's up, buddy? Tower 1 is the solar, of course, as if the antenna on top wasn't an indication of that.
Hey now.
The masculine. And then Tower 2, South Tower, I believe, is the lunar feminine, Venus, Mars, right? So the middle path, the synthesis between the two pillars, is the way to ultimate unity consciousness. The numbers that represent that are 777, and that is the opposite of 666, and we'll get into that, because understanding the duality of these numbers, what they represent, is important. And how these rituals work and what they mean. And of course, let's not forget about Building 7, right? The third to collapse. It was not hit, and that's important to understand, is assigned to the middle here. As you can see, I have it in the middle. That was, I believe, the building that United 93 was supposed to hit, but instead, the Pentagon got hit. And I'll tell you, basically what I feel is going on in here, the situation, and basically in the world, is that there are two forces, the left and the right paths. And they are, I think, struggling for dominance and power all the time. And that's why they do wars and they sacrifice us. And we're always caught in the middle, right? And even here, the twin pillars teach you that synthesis is between the pillars, the middle way to unity consciousness, right? And that's why the Building 7 is assigned to the middle there, because it represents, of course, what you see in the top left here. But there is a conflict going on here, and it's all about which side is going to further their agenda at what point in time we happen to be in, right? A mass ritual, basically, that we are spectating, that we're always caught in the middle of course, the audience of the world stage. It's also a coincidence, Shadow, that, hey, Caprice, what's up? That when you add the numbers of the buildings together, 1, 2, and 7, you get 10, which is the number of Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, okay? Or divine spheres, as they're called. And also, guys, as I mentioned before in the beginning, how, Tisha B'Av, this is all going back to the destruction of Solomon and Herod's temple. And the middle building is called, of course, the Salomon Brothers building. Okay, the intended target for 93. Now, the central numbers, guys, and I'll get into the individual meanings when I break all this down. Of course, 93 and 77, the two opposing forces here at work, okay? Flight 11, guys, Flight 11 struck the North Tower, the masculine tower, and hit the 93rd floor. Now, 11, of course, is the great magic number. It does not need to be reduced. The occultists don't do that. It's how they identify each other. Also, it's the number of duality. We all know this. It's the number for manifestation, for opposing mentalities. And, of course, as you see in the top right here, abracadabra or abracadabra, as I think it's usually pronounced with an H because it's Arabic, breaks down to 418, which is 13. Okay, and abracadabra has 11 letters. It is the magic word that is used for all rituals, for putting them into practice, okay? Along with other ones here. But see, okay, so now we have that flight, and then we have flight 175. 175, and I've mentioned this before in my video before, hits the 77th floor. And when you minus that from 110, you get 33, right? So hits the 70. Now, 175 is the number of Venus. And according to Crowley's Liber 175, it concerns uniting oneself to a deity by devotion. And again, going back to abracadabra and 13, it reduces to 13, 175. Okay? So, magical workings, the great magic words. So as soon as the buildings hit these towers, the ritual, had begun at that point. It had begun. Now it was down to which side would succeed in their agenda, the Pentagon or the pentagram, or the Salomon Brothers building represent different ideologies, and I'll get into more of that in a second. So now we've covered 11 and 175. Now, the path of ascent, 93, okay, opens through balance of the two pillars, okay? Now, when we balance the value between the two pillars, guys, 175 and 11, 186, and breaking that apart, you get 93 and 93. And here another 93 from the missing united 93, okay? Now, 93 is ascension. First we got to, before I get to that, thus all the World Trade Center buildings are associated with 93. All the towers are associated with 93, ascension, while the Pentagon here is associated with falling short. 77 is 666. As you see on the bottom here, 2/3 of sevens, 0.666. 77 out of 777, the opposing, seemingly good number, the opposite is divide that, you get 14 out of 21, which is 0.666. Entrapment in the material hell or eternal failure, which is opposite of unity consciousness, okay, 777. And also, guys, when you know, numbers don't lie. They don't. Some people may think they're full of shit, but not after today. 9.11. In this case, if you do add the 1 and the 1 and get 2, and you divide 92 out of 93, okay, 11 over 12, 2/3, or 0.666, okay? Now, 93, again, ascension out of ego, duality to love, will, unity, consciousness, very opposite to 77 or 666. And so, yeah, the number 3, of course, also represents the third eye, the pagan trinity, and the number of the divine union. And also, thelema, will, and agape, I think that's how you pronounce it, or agape, love, will and love, both equal 93 in gematria. Okay, coincidence, right? And again, 93 is equivalent to 777 because they both reduce to 3. And again, 777, opposite to 666, represents the human in a state of thoughts, emotions, and actions elevated to union with the higher will. Now, going back to the Pentagon, here's where now you're going to see the separation of the opposing forces and which opposing force came out as the successor, because look where our country is headed since then. Flight 77 was supposedly the one that hit the Pentagon and became the victor, because United 93 supposedly crashed in Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere with no wreckage left, right? So Flight 77, of course, 77 breaks down to 14, which breaks down to 5. Going back to that number 5 again, guys, symbolizing death. It's also, the pentagram. Pentagram is 33. I've shown that before. And also it's number of Satan. Don't think too literally here, guys, which is 14, which breaks down to 5. And Satan, again, in English ordinal is 55, okay? And the Pentagon, some more interesting facts about the Pentagon to tie it to that number 77. Again, numbers don't lie. 77 feet high. The Pentagon, okay, in Flight 77, okay, 77 feet high. Now, when you add all of the flights, 11, 175, 93, 77, it breaks down, well, it's 356, but it breaks down to 14, which breaks down to 5, okay? The occultists love that number too, not just 369, 11, 13. It's also, if you add the date 9/11/2001, you get 14, which breaks down again to what number? 5. How many floors above and how many basement levels did the Pentagon have? 5 floors above and 2 basement levels, 7 total floors. Now, 7 on its own is a universal number. It can be used for good and bad. Opposing forces can use it for whatever, because 7 does represent, God in a sense. Again, don't take it too literal, or completion or divine perfection. Again, and 3 sevens equal, again, 21, right? So don't get that confused with 7-7. Okay, 777 is not 666 or 77. Okay, 93 is 777. So also, guys, the Pentagon has 5 sides and 5 rings, which is a total of 25 sides is 7. So you add that to the total floors, you get 77. And guys, I can't make this shit up. I would not. You can research this fact on your own too. The total airtime flight of Flight 77 was an hour and 17 minutes. You could break that down to 9 or 11 times 7 is 77. I mean, these two opposing forces, this is really happening, and you know, I'm telling you, there's just no way you can make this up. Okay, so again, 77 falling short, just like 666. Think of them in the same terms, like you think 93 and 777. Falling short, failure to achieve higher consciousness. One card short of the 78 card tarot deck, my friends. And I will get to chat in a minute. Again, as you saw at the bottom here, the math here, 2/3 sevens is 0.666, 77 over 777, falling short, failing to reach, that unity consciousness, 666. Don't think too literal, guys. It's something that's happening in front of us, but also something that's happening internal as well. So 9/11 basically spurs natural order according to Kabbalah. Now, if you pass directly from the 9th Sephiroth in the Tree of Life here, which means 9, according to Kabbalah, is the completion of the cycle. If you skip 10, which 10 is 1, really, or unity, or the start of the cycle, they skip right over to 11, which is duality. And according to Kabbalistic text, it is blasphemous to claim any more or less than 10 Sephiroth. So think about that, all right? So, of course, who came out the victor in pushing their agenda forward? Well, the seemingly negative forces triumphed over the positive, seemingly positive forces, because, again, like I said before, Solomon Brothers Building 7 was brought down in, intentionally. I don't really want to say the whole word. I'm going to skip over the censor. But that's where that missing plane was, okay? I believe it was intended not for the Capitol, but for this. And it was basically a race to see who would get there first. They were really playing this out, the elites. It's sick. With bombs or drones or however they did it, they did it, but not how they say. Let's just say that. My videos should speak for themselves at this point. The numbers sure speak for themselves. So we know who won and furthered their agenda, because what came right after that, and I just uploaded a video predicting, where not predicting, you know what I mean, predicting programming with 3 Days of the Condor. Basically, Robert Redford saying, do we have plans to go to the Middle East? And the CIA guy was like, no. But then here we are, not even, however many years later after that, the Gulf War, and then now Iraq. So had the Pentagon, had the other side won, and maybe if the other side had won in 93 actually hit the Solomon Brothers building and it wasn't brought down, how, then maybe our country and our society would have gone in a different direction. Maybe there wouldn't have been an Iraq war. Maybe there would have been a different type of war. But from that, I'll basically give you of the overall meaning here. But now you understand that the towers represented the number 777, and the Pentagon is 666 or 77, and the other 777 and 93. Okay, so this was basically a mass sacrifice ritual invoking destruction, total chaos of the divine union. The 3 towers, I should say, actually 1, 2, and 7, 10 Sephiroths. Remember, destroying that divine union. To provoke a response of violence, violence based in fear. Because look where exactly our country is headed. Again, the Twin Towers plus the world, the Building 7, are 93, representing divine ascent through care, and are raised. They are brought down to the ground or base consciousness, right? So once the pillars had fallen, the central path fell, and there didn't need to be another destructive force, right? Once the Pentagon, once that side won and that target got hit first. So had we only understood and understood just from learning from the past, the history, Tisha B'Av, guys, for those of you who missed the very beginning, Tisha B'Av, this all goes back to, that annual fast in Judaism, which all these disasters happened. And how many calamities were there? Again, 5. 5 calamities. So, yeah, in which, again, Solomon's Temple, Herod's Temple, and the Twin Towers were destroyed on 9/11, you know, on the same date, September. And once again, all this really, the truth being in front of you the whole time on the Freemason logo, especially. So before any, car commercial or cigarette container that I found or anything that Jesse or anybody who has sent me stuff has found, it's been the programming and the symbolism, the intention has always been there, and they've been planning this forever and ever and ever. They are planning the next one probably.
Click.